Fellas, what's going on? Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a bass house drop in the style of night mode. Alright, so listen, I went into a little bit of a scientific approach on how to get that night mode sound. I actually went through a lot of their bass house records and I kind of checked what makes a night mode track a night mode track. Now there's 4 things that stood out to me. Obviously the first thing is unique sound, atypical sound production, things that you don't usually hear. The drums have to sound poppy, aka radio ready. They have to be high transient, you know, they have to stand out. Because when you're in the car, that's what you hear. When you're on the radio, that's what you hear. You don't want a muddy mix. Then we've got catchy vocals, optimistic or dark vibes. So catchy vocals, you know, you get like a really catchy vocal hook, something that people will remember when they're listening to the radio and they come across the track for the first time. Then the last thing I noticed in almost all of the night mode records is that the subs are quite distorted. I think once again another reason for that is that it's more, you can hear the distorted subs everywhere. Sure, it might not be so like techno main stage viable, but most people that listen to night mode tracks listen to them on streams or at home or like just chilling in the car. Like it's gotta sound, you gotta hear the sub with every single sound system you have. So those are the 4 main elements that I heard. So let's start with the drums. Right, so all of the drums, all of the samples I'm about to go into, you can find in my sample pack. I've linked it in the description of this video, Contraband. Alright, so this is kick number 1. One of my favorite kicks I've ever made. It's just very punchy. It's got a lot of transient and we're just boosting a little bit we're just boosting the gain here a little bit. Put it into a mixer channel and we're putting it into a kick mix. And that's because we're layering it with this noise layer. So that together with the kick sounds something like this. Without the noise, with the noise. Yeah, that noise layer creates that sort of poppy effect we were talking about. So we've put those 2 elements into a kick mix, kick bus basically with a soft clipper. As you can see, we're clipping the signal quite a lot by picking down the threshold and boosting the post. You see there? Without that, we're just increasing the thickness basically. That's the kick. So you got these 2 elements mixed together going into a drum bus, and in the drum bus we have a FET-CB compressor. We've got around 20 milliseconds of attack, 60 milliseconds of release, about -4 decibels in threshold, and 1.2 to 1 ratio, and a 1 decibel output increase. With that said, we've got the clap, very important in sound selection here. And this is also just clap number 1 from my sample pack. I've just shortened it to get that snappy effect. So instead of that whole frequency, we just have. I know by itself it doesn't sound nice, but once again, we're going for that snappy sound, right? So when you compress the clap and kicks together, that sounds quite nice, right? If I were to have the whole clap, it's a whole different vibe now. Night mode is quite unique with their style of drums. I think it's as well because the artists just have really high level of sound selection. Let's go about the hat. This one I found quite strange process to do because I didn't choose a hat that I usually choose for this kind of drop. It's like a very harsh, high frequency, but that's because we want it to stand out. So like when we mix it with the kick and clap, you really hear the hat. Like it doesn't sound well mixed together, but at the same time, it sounds very poppy. That's kind of what we want. You can go ahead and mess around with the hat if you like. It really depends on the style of drop we're going for. But you heard what we were going for in the beginning. So that's kind of the hat I would use for this. That brings us on to the sort of effects. Before I want to go into the bassline melody, let's go into all the sound effects. So we got this. In the key of G sharp, again from my Contraband sample pack. And then in the B part of the drop, we've got this, which with the sidechain sounds like this. And it layers with the bass line and melody, which we're going to go into in a second, like I said. All right, and we've got this as well. Lasers just add so much layering to your drop. Either lasers or sort of melodic percussion elements, which here's an example of a melodic percussion element. And then we've got these impacts and this pre-drop. Again, everything from my sample pack. Let's finally go into the bass line and melody. So for this pre-drop, we've got this with all of these filters filtering it in. that its actual sound is created by 3 different serum presets. These are all from my serum preset pack Metamorphosis. So the first one is this layer called Rave 66. I've just slightly modified it. I think that actually sounds a lot better. Yeah, so normally I think we'd have like a something more like that, but I've just changed stuff around here. Right, so that's the first layer. The second layer, we've got another bass from my preset pack. This one's called Sad Girls. All we've done to this is just reverse the direction of the frequency in the equalizer here. So normally it's like that, and we just switched it to, so those two together sound like this. And then lastly, we've got a little sub. Once again, like I said, you want it to be distorted without the distortion. It sounds more easy to the ears, but this is what we're going for. Almost a little tiny bit leaning towards deep fried, you know? So all that together, that's fire. And how did we choose the key? Well, we found this vocal and I just pitched it up 100 cents, putting it in the key of G sharp. So check it out.
Took a taste of love, now I'm wasting you. Had to spit you out, poison in my mouth.
And then at the end here, I'm just looping this bit with this EQ, capiche? And the last thing that puts everything together here are these melodic elements. Again, these stabs are in my contraband pack. Woo! If you'd like to learn a little bit about how to get your music out there successfully and gain a bigger audience, then watch this video next. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Peace and subscribe.